If I had a buddy call me tomorrow and say, Darren, I want to get into kayak fishing, what should I buy? This is exactly what I tell him, and let's start with the kayaks. Now, I have 3 beginner-friendly fishing kayaks. Now, these are going to range between $700 and $1,000 MSRP. But if you're patient and willing to watch marketplace like a hawk, it's not uncommon to save 30 to 35% off retail, and sometimes even more. A lot of people get excited about kayak fishing, buy a kayak, use it a handful of times, and then it ends up sitting in their garage collecting dust. Their loss can be your gain. So if you're like me, the range is more along the 500 to 750 range if you're willing to buy used. Now, before the comment section blows up, can you buy a cheaper kayak? Absolutely. But once you start getting below that $600 MSRP price point, you tend to run into some common problems. You got uncomfortable molded seats that become miserable after a few hours, poor stability that really kills the confidence on the water, limited storage for tackle and gear, few or no accessory mounting options, right? You got lower weight capacities, less efficient hull designs, lower quality components, and difficulty standing and fishing. A kayak you will likely outgrow quickly. Now, that doesn't mean you can't catch fish from a $300 kayak. You absolutely can. I do it all the time in my Sun Dolphin Aruba 10. In fact, cheap kayak is often infinitely better than sitting on the bank wishing you had one. But if your budget allows, I think the $700 to $1,000 MSRP range is a sweet spot where you start getting features that make kayak fishing significantly more comfortable, enjoyable, and something you'll want to stick with for the long term. Number 1, the Lifetime Yukon Angler. This is going to be 11 feet 6 inches. So if you're looking for the most kayak for the least amount of money, the Yukon Angler is going to be hard to ignore. Now, with the 350-pound weight capacity, you got a nice comfortable frame seat, plenty of storage, and a stable platform. It's really a great option for those larger anglers or anyone who likes bringing a lot of extra gear to the water. It also comes with a 5-year limited warranty, which is something you don't always see at this price point. And it's not just me that likes this kayak, right? The Yukon currently holds a 4.6 out of 5-star rating across more than 160 reviews, which tells me a lot of anglers are having a positive experience with it. Now, let's talk stability, because that's one of the biggest reasons this kayak made the list. I personally give the Yukon an 8.5 out of 10 for stability. The Yukon features a wide hull design that prioritizes stability and confidence on the water. It's actually stable enough for a lot of anglers to stand and fish. Another feature I really like is the dual position frame seat. You can run it in a higher position that's great for fishing and visibility, or recline it for comfort during longer paddles and long days on the water. So at 11.6 and 32 inches wide, the Yukon really strikes a nice balance between stability, storage, and paddling performance, right? It doesn't feel like a barge, but it's stable enough that most beginners will feel comfortable in it very quickly. And at the time of this filming, the cheapest I could find online was $698 at Walmart, making it one of the most affordable true fishing kayaks on the list. So next up, it was really a toss-up between putting the Lifetime Tamarack Pro or the Perception Outlaw. And I chose the Outlaw, not because it doesn't mean you shouldn't take a look at the Tamarack Pro, as it comes in a bit cheaper than the Perception Outlaw, and unlike the Yukon Angler, it actually comes with a paddle. But I chose the Perception Outlaw 11.5. Now, if standing and fishing is a high priority for you, the Outlaw deserves a serious look. In fact, if stability is one of your number 1 concerns, I would take an even harder look at the Outlaw. The Outlaw features a good-sized open deck layout, a wide pontoon style hull design that really creates an incredible stable platform. And I personally give the Outlaw a 9.5 out of 10 for stability, right? Making it one of the easiest kayaks to stand and fish from at this price range. At 11 feet 6 inches long, nearly 35 inches wide, 3 inches wider than the Yukon, and with a 425-pound weight capacity, 75 pounds more than the Yukon, this kayak is really built for anglers who value stability and comfort and fishability over outright speed. Now, one of the biggest features that separates the Outlaw from many kayaks in this category is the deck layout, right? The Outlaw features a larger open standing area. So if you're someone who likes to move around, sight fish, or really spend a lot of time on your feet, you'll appreciate what the Perception did here. Another feature is the folding lawn chair style seat, right? It sits high off the deck and provides excellent visibility and comfort during those long days on the water. I personally really dislike those seats that sit higher on fishing kayaks. Now, the Outlaw is also to come equipped with multiple gear tracks, rod holders, plenty of storage, and a rear tank well that will easily accept a standard milk crate. Now, this kayak also comes with a 5-year limited warranty, which provides some added peace of mind when making a purchase at this price point. Now, is it perfect? No. The trade-off for all of that stability is going to be speed, right? This kayak isn't going to win any races. It's not a great kayak for current, right? Maybe a slow moving river. So if you're covering huge distances or paddling several miles every trip, there are more efficient hull designs available. But for anglers who prioritize fishing over paddling, that's usually the trade-off worth making. And at the time of this filming, the cheapest I could find it was around like $789. So it's gonna make it $100 cheaper than the Yukon. And the last beginner kayak you should take a look at is one that I actually own. It's going to be the Bonafide RS 117. If you're looking for a kayak that you can buy as a beginner and still be happy with it years later, the RS 117 is one of the easiest recommendations I can make. The weight capacity on it's going to be 425 pounds. It's got a 33.5-inch width. It's got a hybrid cat hull, and the RS 117 really delivers that excellent balance of stability, fishability, and paddling performance, right? So I'd personally give the RS 117 like a 7.5 out of 10 for stability. And that's not because it's unstable. It's actually quite the opposite. Because most anglers, they can comfortably stand and fish from it once they develop their kayak legs. But compared to something like the Outlaw, the RS 117 is a little more performance oriented. And what I like about it, it doesn't try to be the most stable kayak, right, in the market. Instead, it's gonna strike a great balance between stability, maneuverability, and paddling efficiency. It's stable enough to stand and fish, but paddles noticeably better than many of the ultra wide fishing kayaks on the market. And what really separates the RS 117 from a lot of beginner kayaks is the overall design, right? Everything just kind of makes sense in the thing. The layout's clean, the storage is well thought through, the tank wheel easily accommodates milk crates or black packs. It also features Bonafide's integrated dry pod for storing keys and wallets and other essentials. Another standout feature is the dual height stadium seat. You can run it low for paddling efficiency or raise it up for better visibility and easier standing transitions. It's probably one of the most comfortable seats you'll find at this price point. Now at 11 feet 7 inches long, the RS 117, it tracks well, right? It's gonna turn well, and it's gonna paddle better than many kayaks in its class. It's also rudder ready and designed to grow with you as an angler, right? Which is one of the reasons I recommend it so often. And at the time of this filming, the RS 117 sells for around $999, putting it at the top of our budget range. Now, is it the cheapest kayak on the list? No. Not even close. But if you're looking for a kayak that you can realistically fish from for the next few years without feeling you need to upgrade, the RS 117 may be the best long-term value in this entire list. Now let's talk about these guys. The paddle is going to matter more than you think. One of the biggest mistakes beginners make is treating a paddle like an afterthought, right? They'll spend hundreds, if not thousands of dollars on a kayak and then buy the cheapest paddle they can find. Don't do that. When it comes to paddles, you generally get what you pay for. You're going to take thousands, if not tens of thousands of paddle strokes every year. The heavier paddle might not seem like a big deal in the store, but after 4 or 5 hours on the water, your shoulders will absolutely know the difference. And as paddle prices increase, you're typically paying for lighter materials, better blade design, improved efficiency, and less fatigue throughout the day. Now, those aluminum shafts are common at the entry-level point, right? While fiberglass and carbon fiber paddles reduce weight and make long days on the water much more enjoyable, but obviously they're more expensive. But here's something a lot of beginners don't realize, right? Not all paddles are the same length. In fact, buying the wrong size paddle, it can make paddling harder, it can make it less efficient, it can leave your shoulders feeling like you just finished arm day at the gym. And when sizing a paddle, there are 3 things that are really going to matter: your height, the width of your kayak, and how high you're sitting off the water. And that's important because most fishing kayaks are much wider than traditional wreck kayaks. Add in an elevated seat, and you're usually gonna need a longer paddle than you think. As a general starting point, right? If you're under 5'6", look at a 230 centimeter paddle for narrower kayaks, and around a 240 centimeter paddle for wider kayaks. If you're between 5'6" and 6 foot, A 240 centimeter paddle works really well for many kayaks, while a wider fishing kayak often pair better with a 250 centimeter. But if you're over 6 feet, right, you're typically going to be looking at like a 250 centimeter paddle. In some wider kayaks, you may even push to a 260 centimeter. Now, the good news is that many paddles today are adjustable and they allow you to fine tune really the best fit for you. And trust me, getting the right paddle length can make a bigger difference than most beginners realize. Now, if you're trying to stay on a budget, I take a hard look at the Pelican Poseidon Angler. It's one of the better values on the market and a great beginner paddle and hard to beat at 2.5 pounds and between 50 and 60 bucks. And it's got a 4.5-star rating out of 5 with over 10,000 reviews, so it's a crowd pleaser. The next thing you are going to need, you're going to want to buy a quality PFD. If there's one place I don't recommend cutting corners, it's going to be your PFD. The mistake I see all the time is anglers buying the cheapest PFD they can find. And the problem is if it's uncomfortable, you are not going to wear it. Buying a quality PFD is only half the battle. Right? You also need to make sure that it fits properly. A PFD that's too loose can ride up, and one that's too tight can be uncomfortable enough that you stop wearing it altogether. So when you're trying on a PFD, you're going to tighten all the straps and have someone pull up on your shoulders. If it rides up over your ears, right, it's too loose and it needs to be adjusted or sized differently. Now, personally, I've been running the NRS Raku for years. Unfortunately, it's been discontinued, but if I were buying a new PFD today, I would take a hard look at the NRS Xander. One of the things I love about the Raku and what carries over to the Xander is the comfort. The design works exceptionally well with elevated seat kayaks and doesn't constantly push you forward like some of the bulkier PFDs that have a lot of that foam right behind your neck. The Raku is actually going to disperse that foam down your entire back. And trust me, if your PFD fits properly and is comfortable, you will actually wear it. Now, at the end of the day, don't overcomplicate this, right? If you have a kayak, a properly sized paddle, and a quality PFD, you're ready to go fishing. And that's really all you need to get started. In fact, if I were starting over today, I'd skip the motor, I'd skip the electronics, at least initially. Instead, I would focus on learning. Every time you come off the water, do a little post-mortem, ask yourself what worked, what didn't, what would have made this day easier, what gear did I actually use, what gear did I bring that never leaves the crate or I haven't used for the past 5 times. And as your skills grow, you can slowly add things over time. But just remember, keep an eye on that kayak's weight capacity as you start adding gear. All you really need is your kayak, your PFD, and your paddle, right? But one of the first upgrades I made, and one that's not really mission critical, but is incredibly helpful, is a milk crate. Like seriously, the milk crate may be the greatest value upgrade in kayak fishing. You're gonna get storage, you're gonna get organization, you're gonna get rod holders, someplace you can put your rain gear, someplace you can put your lunch, your drinks, your tackle, the milk crate. Now, I've done multiple DIY milk crate videos over the years, and they've generated more than 250,000 views because they're simple, affordable, and they simply just work. So I'll throw that video at the end of this video if you wanna make one yourself. One last thing, after years of kayak fishing, seeing accidents, hearing stories, and having a few close calls myself, Chad Hoover and I realized there needed to be a safety course built specifically for kayak anglers. That is why we created KFAST, Kayak Fishing Advanced Safety Training. And what you're gonna find inside these hours of education is we're gonna cover things like PFDs and weather and launching and re-entry and shared water hazards. We're gonna talk about emergency preparedness, situational awareness, hook removal, and much more. Now, the goal isn't to scare you. The goal is to help you make sure you come back home safely after every trip. So make sure you check it out at kfast.co and earn your certification today. Now, if you're looking for one of the easiest and cheapest upgrades you can make to your kayak, check out my milk crate video right there. And if you're looking for a way to catch more fish and haven't yet mastered the chatterbait, I've got that video right there. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you out in the water.